turn the audio and the video on.
Are you operating on everything? You flying solo today?
I am. Lacey's in charge of the move.
Go.
Oh, man, I can't imagine how you felt coming in. Were you here before they started doing things?
Oh,
Did you
so,
know they were gonna start today?
no. We had already kind of been just packing up what we could
Yeah,
and stuff, and when we were setting in, we were doing a project that you had asked about the school ballots, or not school ballots, but assisted voters.
Yeah.
So we were in there prep, because we got here
Oh,
at like
yeah.
7, so we were in there, you know, prepping, counting, and making our little list, and they came in and said, okay, we've got a whole team here to move, and I'm like, okay, that's about right. So, yeah,
Wow.
so, but
Wow. So you didn't get those figures?
I did not.
Okay. Well, that was a good reason not to get
Oh,
them,
yeah, so
but it will be something that it would be good to
it
have.
will be, and we will do that.
Accepted.
When they unplug our computer, you know,
Yeah,
it's
what are you
pretty
gonna
much
do?
done. Oh, my goodness.
What are you gonna do?
Wow.
Hey,
Good
wow.
morning.
Small crowd here
Yeah.
today.
Tell you
They
what.
all waited for you.
Boy, moving day?
Yes,
And it was-
that was Jennifer's response. Was it weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
when you move.
Yeah.
No, it's all just, so we'll spend January unpacking
Yeah.
and finding,
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
so yeah, so it'll give us something to do in January.
That's right. Well, you wanted something to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this meeting is called to order. It's a little slim on the number of people. Do we have Evelyn's not even here.
No, Evelyn has
How's she
surgery,
doing?
so she's doing well, Debbie's doing well, so
Okay,
yes.
good. Yeah,
Good, they both are.
Yes,
so everything turned out okay. All right, well, we will call the meeting to order, regardless of our slim pickings here. And the first item of business is to look at the minutes.
I just do it. I'm okay with them.
Okay,
I signed a copy whenever
Super.
Max says.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Good,
I agree.
all right, well, minutes are accepted as presented. Election laws recently filed. Jennifer, what do you got?
yes, so those are the ones that we talked about, briefly.
On the 12th?
On the 12th, the ones for online voter registration, allowing, same day registration, like during early vote, election day. Allowing 16-year-olds to register to vote. Right now, 17-and-a-half-year-olds can register to vote. This, but it goes into a waiting mode until they turn 18.
What's the point of that?
I don't know, that one concerns me with the amount of
Probably-
record keeping.
Probably just to get people signed up.
Yeah, at
Right, try to get
16,
people
16-year-olds.
engaged in,
Or getting their
But-
driver's license.
That's
probably
true.
what it is.
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah.
And just to give them probably an effort to try to get civics, I mean, get people
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah,
voting, it's,
right.
you know, kids,
But
right?
I mean, that seems a little overkill to me.
because they're gonna have to hold on to that record for 2
Exactly.
years.
And kids move, families,
Yeah,
if families go to other states.
so, right now it's 17-and-a-half, which is
Yeah, that,
kind of a nice
Mhm.
rate, because you have to be registered 30 days before an
Right.
election. So it allows someone who is turning 18 to go ahead and be registered to vote if they turn
Yeah.
18 by election day, but, and
This 16 thing is, when they do it, I guess if they're already doing it at 17-and-a-half, it's probably. I would just wonder what the process is for the clerk's office.
they have,
The clerk's the one that's holding on to it, or is it it is the clerk?
it'll be the county clerk, and that was the other thing that I just thought for on the clerk side, that's more record keeping.
Yeah.
That they'll have to keep, because right now, basically, they put them in, and they put them in what's called suspense. And then as soon as they turn 18, then they have to go in and take them out of suspense.
it's about 2 years for these kids.
Right,
That's
so,
a
It's all electronic, right?
Yes, that part
So
is,
it's not
yeah,
really any
Oh,
burden, it's
okay.
literally the electronic system.
yeah.
They
Right.
don't
Well, the
keep
ones
the,
who signed up at
Hard
16
registration.
I don't think.
will not be signing up at 17 and a
We are
half, so
planning
it may
on
not be.
based on normal.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
yeah,
may not be,
Right.
so,
I suspect it's all geared toward, don't we have the lowest voter registration rate or turnout rate in the
so
country?
we have the lowest voter registration and lowest voter turnout. And it's hard for us when we look at it because our numbers for Washington and Benton are higher or what the
Okay,
average is.
okay, thank
But
you.
then when you get down to the other parts of the
Sure.
state, that's where it changes dramatically, our voter turnout and our number of registered voters. So, yeah, so,
Pretty bad.
yeah, it is. We're always last
Brought down.
when it comes in
But you
there.
know what I just saw? I just had nothing to do with that. I just saw that in 2024, Arkansas was the #1 state for people to move to.
Mhm.
Is that right? The number
I saw
one?
something about that, but I didn't see what the data was.
Yeah,
I
I
just
didn't
saw that
either. I didn't look
headline,
at
you
it,
know.
but I mean, I saw that and I thought,
Wow,
good.
that's
you know,
interesting.
The Northwest Arkansas
Yeah,
it's a destination.
Mhm.
yeah.
I can tell by the number of apartment complexes.
Mhm.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. absolutely.
Everywhere.
They're building a city south of the Sands.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay.
It's huge. And that's just,
Oh, yeah,
That's
the
just one
Springdale
place.
Sands?
yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
it's going on everywhere.
I'm sorry, I took us
Yeah.
off track.
Well, who submitted that?
So all of these were submitted by Representative Collins, who does sit on, the, state agency.
Okay,
And he's out of Pulaski County.
Well,
okay.
let's just be frank, they don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Democrat from Little Rock.
Yeah,
He's,
yeah.
I mean, they don't have.
Well, I
Yeah.
gotta admire his preparation because, I mean, clearly he's getting some feedback from somebody on this, or he's thinking through the
Yeah.
process of some of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have all of these prepared now, even before the session starts.
Filed these all on 11/20.
Okay,
So, yeah, so these
so it's been a
all.
month.
Working on it.
Wow.
Yeah, he has.
Good for him.
So, and then one of them would change the petitions, from having to collect signatures in 50 states, or 50 counties
Mhm.
to just taking that away. Because that was a newly added law, I believe, in 2023.
Yeah.
And so that would take it back to what it was previously.
Okay.
I think it was 15.
Yeah, previously,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a much smaller number. And then no excuse absentee voting, and then changing the deadline for when absentees are brought back in person or by designated fair to the Monday before the election rather than right now, they're the Friday
Okay,
before.
yeah.
And then the other ones, now Ladyman filed a bill for term limits for Congress. If that ever gets to be a constitutional amendment, I think this is
Oh, okay.
one of the stepping stones if that's voted on
Term limits
nationwide.
for the
For US
Congress.
Congress, yeah, so if that's ever something. And then, they're thinking ahead to redistricting when we get to 2030 by, this one was filed by, it does, by Senator King for, a different type of apportionment board that's gonna look
Oh.
at, how the districts are created.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's what has been filed so
So,
far.
Okay.
I guess we could look those up online, right?
So I will send you an Excel sheet
Okay,
that I have that already has the links in it.
Good.
okay.
And I'll start, at the first of the year, start sending out daily
When
emails
you get your
with,
office back.
we can all get back together.
Mm,
What bills have been filed, when they're gonna be on committee and the links to it. So I've already
Okay.
got the spreadsheet started with all of this in it, so yeah. So, and then who sets on the different agencies
Mm.
as well. We have on the Senate side, two, Benton County, senators sat on it. And then on the House side, there's two Benton County and, Nicole County from Washington County
Okay.
sets on the state agencies for the representative side, so that gives us easy contact.
Right. Has the SBEC submitted and filed anything, or are they still?
They're still, they have not filed anything, and they will start to, because they'll basically have to get sponsors.
Oh, right.
And I know Hammer has been sponsors for them in the past. He also is setting on state agencies this year. So I suspect the different things that they may want to run, they'll probably get Hammer to.
You see the one that's been so high on this, election area, see, who is?
He's not, I
Okay, who's
don't
the guy
think,
that was, pushing that?
I think it was a different Hammer. I think it was,
yeah,
I
Okay,
think,
there's-
right?
there's more than
Yeah,
one
I think
Hammer?
there's two of them in the senators, well,
Okay.
more there were.
yeah.
I don't know if the other guy's there, but I think that was it. I think I think it's good, that's good memory. My recollection.
Well, it's, at my age, it,
No, yeah, I think that was it. I think so.
Yeah, I did not remember that.
Yeah.
you see this?
Oh, that's awesome. Nice work, thank you.
That's your Christmas present.
Oh, that's great, thank you, that's fun.
Every day you'll remember. Okay, so, we're gonna just start getting the various, spreadsheet information from you.
Yes.
And we'll
So
have to, review those privately and,
that'll be beginning in January.
Yeah, I can go ahead and send out the spreadsheet to you.
right now.
When I get back,
Yeah.
if I have a computer.
When you
still.
can find it,
So, and I'll send it to our Northwest Arkansas.
I wondered if
group,
you, okay, good.
just like I've done in the past.
As an FYI,
Yeah.
this is what's in the
Mhm.
pipeline.
And like I said, the links will be in there, so it'll make it easy for anyone if they wanted to read the full text of the bill. And I'll have my notes attached that are just like,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is what
good,
it does,
right,
so they can.
okay.
Super.
Super.
So,
Okay, election law suggestions, is this your, what you've been mulling over?
yes, some of this, the first one about publications, this is one that the SBEC is gonna be looking at. One of the feedbacks that they've gotten from monitors that they've sent is postings aren't correct at polling locations. And it's in part because the requirements for postings are all over the law.
Mm.
Like they're in different places,
Oh.
and there's different numbers of this, there's repetitive things. And so if you're in a county where you're just sending out the stuff to be like they send it out and they're
Mhm.
supposed to be sticking it on the wall.
Right.
It can make it difficult for counties to be in
Yeah.
compliance with that. And we go ahead and our team sets it, and that way they just put up those banners.
Right,
And that there's, we make sure that everything's supposed to be in there. They're wanting to kind of simplify that, and are there postings that we no longer need? Are there
Good
duplicates of
question.
postings?
Sure.
That kind of thing, so that would just be kind of a cleanup of, what is being posted at the sites.
question. If the SBEC is gonna see if they can clean it up, is this gonna end up getting lost in the shuffle somewhere? It's just, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a high priority in the sense that there may be some other bills that take precedence over it and it just gets lost.
I don't think so. It'll be like, it'll be a simple bill to explain and a simple bill to push forward.
Okay.
Just like, so last year, they removed city clerk
Yeah,
from having to list those as a single unopposed. And those are kind of things that you like, oh, okay, who's really
Right.
paying? But when the SBC is saying, hey, this is kind of a good thing, those are kind of easy bills.
okay,
to
so
get
they
back
pass
through.
quickly.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I don't
Okay.
imagine there would be any pushback or any, and it keeps counties from getting written up.
Yeah,
if you
right.
can simplify it and make it easier and make
Well-
sure that they're in compliance.
Is the SBEC bulldogging that, I guess, that that counties are complying?
So what's happened is the SBEC has sent out more monitors than they've ever
Oh,
been
really?
able to send out.
Hmm.
And basically those monitors are brought in and trained at the SBEC level, and they have basically a list of things they're looking for at the
Okay.
polling locations.
Good.
And so they're different in the sense of a poll watcher. A poll watcher
Yeah.
doesn't really have any training, and they
Yeah.
don't have our book where it says this needs to be
Right,
posted, this
right.
and this. So when they go into a polling location, they're like looking, are all the postings there?
Mm-hmm.
Is the zero take posted? Are they following the right procedures for provisionals? Are they following the right procedures for spoiled ballots? So
So
they're
they are
looking-
monitoring.
Yes,
Yeah,
and.
like the health department coming into a restaurant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah, it sounds like
that's
it. Yeah,
that's
good
what it
point.
is. So,
Yeah.
And one of the things that was noted over and over again at many, many places that they would go, that there would be items missing
Right.
from what's supposed to be posted. And, so they feel like if it's consistently being not done correctly, then maybe there's something
A
in the
reason
law
behind it,
part
yes.
that we can clean up to make it easier.
Right.
Not have duplications
Mhm.
and all of that.
Mhm.
So, so I definitely think this will be a priority because that's one of those things you hate to get written up for.
Oh,
Cause
gosh,
it's like
yeah,
it's an
Yeah.
easy thing.
right.
If
Well-
they can make it easier, then I'm for it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And so that definitely is their goal,
good.
is to keep people from getting written up from
Yeah.
an easy
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, super.
The next one, which is the newspaper publication, this one is, a lot of people bring this up, this is not from the SBEC. But it costs over $20,000
Yeah.
for our notice of election to be published in the paper twice
Right.
for the general election. And then it costs almost $5,000 for us to do it for the
Mhm.
runoff.
Mhm.
And I'm not advocating to go away from publishing it in the newspaper, but maybe we only need to publish it once.
Yeah.
Because newspaper, the actual printing of the paper, so many people don't get it anymore.
Right.
If they're getting it online, then that means they have access
Yes.
to being able to go to a website, to be able to do those kind of things. I think that we'll never get away from it not being published, but maybe it's only published once, right before early voting starts. And then people have an opportunity to see it. And that is kind of the notice of election part of it too.
Mm.
When we publish the notice of election the second time, all the information for early vote is obsolete,
That's true.
but we're paying to
Yeah,
publish,
and the space.
and there's no, like, those days have passed.
Right.
So, so there's things in it that you're just like, okay, I'm having to pay for that. So maybe the second publication would just be, hey, the election is this date.
Mhm.
If you want more information, go to
the
this
website,
website and kind of simplify it like that. I also think making a request of the SOS office to add the notice of election to voter view.
Oh,
Because we
Yeah.
push voter view
right.
constantly. We're the ones who are responsible for uploading the sample ballots. Could they make a space to upload the notice of election?
Right.
And then that would be the complete, everything a voter would
Yeah.
need for that election at one place. So,
A central
Sure.
place. too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So that was just kind of a thought I had about that. Definitely the cost, I mean, that's a lot of money. And even smaller counties that have smaller ones, their budgets are smaller than ours, so their costs percentage wise, same as what we pay.
Well, and a big part of that is newspapers. The Democrat Gazette is about there aren't smaller localized newspaper, they've all kind of gone away, haven't they?
Some of
In
them
some of
still
the
publish,
counties?
but they publish at odd times.
Yeah,
So also it makes it difficult for
Mm.
coordinators to
Yeah.
get it to the newspaper, to get published at
Right.
time, so it would simplify if you just published once.
yeah.
And then if you did a second publication, it maybe is more of like,
Mm.
hey, go to voter view, or like for us, go to voter view or our page.
Mhm.
Because that would then allow counties that don't have an election commission webpage
Oh,
to be able to send
Yeah.
them to voter view,
mhm.
to be able to see the notice of election. So
Okay.
it wouldn't require a county to necessarily have an election commission
Yeah.
page. So,
Okay, well, I just think newspapers are yesterday's news.
yeah, it's all online. So
Mhm.
why can it not be, if you're looking at it online, click a link
Exactly,
rather than the big, huge thing, so.
well, good. Runnels.
And then runoff elections, this has always been a talk about, do we need runoff elections? Is there, you know, could we relook at when we have runoff elections? How, you know, how could we approach that? One could be to change, right now municipals allow for a 40%. And then, but you have to beat the next person by 20%. So is there maybe a different percentage we could look at? And changing that for school elections too, to allow school elections to fall
Yeah,
into that
sure,
category as
sure.
well. Winner
Mhm.
takes all, maybe you just do, you know, whoever is the winner, because
Yeah,
for state representative seats,
Mhm.
if there's 3 people in that state rep, that it's winner takes all.
yeah.
So,
What's the general rule across the country? I mean, are there a lot of different ways that people do it?
there are, so there's some where it's just winner takes all. There's
Okay.
some where it's a lower percentage. There's some which you see it in the city administrator elections where, so this would be the primary general kind of scenario set up. Let's say you have your municipal elections in the general election, but they file with all of the primary candidates, like the nonpartisan judicial judges file. If there are more than 3 or 2 candidates that file, then those 3 candidates would go on the primary ballot. The winner, the top 2 of that would move on to the general. And all of the races where you only had 2 people would be on the general election ballot. So that way you would get,
Mhm.
I like that.
you would make it easier
Mhm.
for, okay. So if you have 3 candidates file for mayor, let's say, all 3 candidates would go on the primary ballot as a nonpartisan, so they would appear on all 3 ballots. The top 2 winners, or the top 2 from the primary, would move on to the general election ballot. So you would do away with the runoff. If you only had 2 candidates file, you wouldn't put it on the primary, you would just wait
They'd automatically
and let
go
all
to
of
the
those
general.
go on to the general.
Yeah.
And if you had 4,
The same thing, for if you had 4, your top 2 would
come out of
move,
that. and go.
Mhm. yeah.
So the primary, and it would be always treated as a nonpartisan.
Well, cities actually have the opportunity to decide if they want to have their candidates run as a Democrat or Republican.
Huh.
They
I
just
didn't know
have,
that.
yeah, they just have to vote on it. Clint Penzo tried to get a law passed in 2023 that would make that
Right.
a requirement.
Yeah,
But the pushback that he got was the cities can decide to do that if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, because I didn't know they could do that either.
And
until all that.
they're not clean partisan lines in this municipal
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, oh, yeah.
It's not national
Right,
political issues,
right.
they're municipal, so
So-
anyway.
But
There's-
if
I
you
see
could,
it,
There's
not,
plus and minuses
Yeah.
on that.
yeah,
so that would just be one way to prevent runoff. And you would still get more people voting in the primary for the first 3 candidates than you would in a runoff election. So you're
Oh,
still,
yeah, good
you're still
point.
getting more people voting, for that. So that was just kind of, I know that Benton County.
Good conversation, man.
Yeah, and I know
Sure.
Benton County
Agree.
definitely is having this conversation.
Oh,
trying to figure out, a look at it. Of course, the municipal league will definitely have something to say about it. And, and they have a very strong lobby
Yeah.
group.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see, I went ahead and added the runoff results from previous elections.
Yeah.
Minus
Really
this one we
pathetic.
just had.
Good point.
But this kind of shows you the number and the type
Yeah.
of race that it was.
It's work and money for a low turnout.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, good point, good talking point. Yeah, I think it's worthy of considering for sure. Yeah.
Nobody's talking about ranked choice, are they?
No,
That's-
nobody's talking about that. That's kind of where
That's the
this,
last day.
it is, but a lot of those states that did are rethinking it.
Are they?
Had initiatives
Good.
to get rid of it.
good.
So yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag on that. So.
I like that, the top two out of the primary.
Yeah.
Go forward, and that way you've got an answer on election night.
Mhm.
You don't have runoff.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to do the runoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially doing the runoff in the primary,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, rather than.
Yeah.
Having a whole other election.
because I think runoffs, just by the percentage of votes, the people that, number of people that vote, come out and vote, are, I don't know, I can't believe that they're a real, look at what, the majority thinks or believes.
Yeah.
Because it's, a low percentage.
Small percentage, I agree, small percentage.
A whole lot easier to win that.
You
Well,
get your
I'm
people out.
looking at it from the candidate's point of view, and it relieves you of a lot of
Extra,
campaigning.
Yeah, yeah.
That is, I mean, it seems like in some of the campaigns, it goes on forever because there's multiple candidates and you eliminate one or two or three, but you still have to keep going.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
And
Yeah.
it'll save the city's money, because
Yeah.
for the primary election, the state pays for the primary. And then for a runoff, for a general election, the county pays for half and then the cities pay their
Okay, yeah.
portion. But for a runoff election, the city pays 100% of
Yeah.
it. So it would end up saving cities money too, by
Right,
not having to
right.
have a runoff election where you only had a small number of voters
Yeah.
who came out to vote.
It hardly justifies it.
Yeah.
So what would be the municipal league's, argument against that?
I don't know. Might be that, they might say that you're asking candidates to campaign all year.
That would be one for sure.
Yeah.
Rather than ending it, 4 weeks after the election in
Right,
May.
yeah,
You're dragging the election on through.
Right.
November.
yeah.
That would
So
be one of them.
I would think that, and that might be it, and they may argue that not having all of them in the primary, where you're having just the top two go into the
Right.
general might be confusing. I don't know. I just, have not talked to anybody at the municipal league.
Yeah.
Or, kind of, see what they thought, but I know that, like I said, Benton County is looking at this, and kind of thinking, what might they present? Or ask to be presented, and they were definitely gonna visit with the municipal league. You don't wanna present something that they're just going to
Knocked down,
knock
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a compromise,
yeah,
because they are very strong. lobby
right,
group.
right, yeah, okay, well. That's in front of us, school elections.
There is talk of the millage, voting on the millage is in the state constitution, so it is really difficult to go away from voting on the millage.
Mhm.
What they're looking at is possibly having, if you only have, unopposed candidate and no change in the millage, that you have a designated person who votes for both things. And then you don't have to create ballots with millages on them
Mm,
that don't need, that you don't have to hold an election for them. So when you do, when you have an unopposed candidate, right now for the school election, let's say, in an odd year, You don't actually have to create ballots for that unopposed candidate. You can actually do election by candidate. Where the candidate comes in and I've created a little piece of paper and they come in and they check their name and they sign and then the candidate is elected.
Okay.
You would do the same thing for the millage. And you wouldn't have to create
Mm.
ballots for the millage and you would have a designated person.
Mm.
And then that would do away with some of the confusion with school elections in odd years. This is only gonna be in odd years.
Got it.
For even years.
Who designates?
So that's the question is who would be the designated person? Some of the thought is it would be the county clerk. Because the county
Oh,
clerk would be a eligible voter in the county. You wouldn't necessarily want to use your superintendent of the school because they may not be a registered voter in the county.
Mm.
Or they may not be a registered voter in the school district. You know, so you would definitely have to kind of, I think this is one of the things they're kind of trying to figure out.
Yeah.
What could legally pass, who could that be? The county clerk makes the most sense,
Yeah, it does.
because that's where you're filing, that's
Mhm.
where you're, you know, you do your candidate by election, you know, all of that type of thing,
It'd
so.
be a simple
Mhm,
thing.
it would be a simple thing, so, yeah, so I know that that's kind of being looked at. Unopposed candidates, the same thing. Just, making that simpler.
Yeah.
For the unopposed
And,
candidate.
and most people in the county are not even gonna really see that as a wrinkle anywhere.
Mhm.
They're probably not even gonna be aware of.
Well, and what happens when you have the millage on the ballot and there's no change in it?
People get,
They think it's a tax. We try to
Yes.
sneak something by.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because we don't
It's
talk.
so confusing.
Yeah.
it's
Why am I
ridiculous.
voting on something that's not gonna change no matter if I vote? That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
And if
Yeah, and
everybody
people are
voted,
always asking that.
Of course.
they do. And
Yeah.
even if 100% of it got voted no,
It would
stays
still
the
stay the
same.
same.
Yeah.
so,
Doesn't make
this-
any sense.
yeah, so this would kind of help
Yeah.
with some of that.
Oh, my goodness.
That'd be
in odd
great if they
years.
would try to put it on there, but
It's-
yeah, now they get 3 to send it voters to vote on and
Yeah.
they don't always choose the 3, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they're usually, this is not a very sexy one, you know.
Not at all.
To send, so
Yeah.
yeah, anyway.
and it's complicated.
Yeah.
Like we.
Well, that's
Great
a
if they
good
did it,
point,
but
yeah.
I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, of course, the school district split between the counties.
Right.
A better way to approach, that if each county was maybe responsible for their own portion of the election, like you do in an even year
Mhm.
versus next year, we have to coordinate the
Right.
counties.
Sure.
Some
Makes
counties
sense.
have to coordinate with 4 counties around them. So, yeah,
Mhm.
but school elections definitely need a complete overhaul. And
Good
then-
luck with that.
Yeah, and then the last one is, transfer of voter registration between counties, that deadline is 4 days. That is also in the Constitution, so it's not an easy law change.
Mhm.
But maybe there's a way to pass a law that would allow those voters to vote a provisional ballot on election day. And then you could confirm that they didn't vote anywhere else in the state, because we do have that ability after
Yeah.
the election, the
Yeah.
county clerk does. And then you would be able to count those ballots. So a voter that moved here from Benton County, but was still registered to vote in Benton County, and they came in to vote on Tuesday, would vote a provisional ballot. And then if we could go and look to see, okay, they didn't vote in Benton County, so they voted here, they live here, and we can count their ballot. Right now, we can't count their ballot. Because they're in that no man land, they're
Yeah.
actually registered to vote,
Yeah.
but not eligible.
Yeah.
So if they did that, would they be, also, would you also collect a, registration from them?
Yeah.
At the polling place,
Mhm.
so that they would be registered. for
Yeah.
poll?
So, and that would be, if you approached it that way, I don't know if it would, you wouldn't have to change the Constitution. Where,
Mm.
you know, because you're
Yeah,
making a
yeah.
little a
Yeah.
new statute for it.
Oh, that's a good
And
thought.
so, because so many people move,
Oh, I know.
and everybody's used to, let's say I lived in Benton County, but I moved inside Benton County and I knew I could change my address on election day.
Oh, right.
But then the next election cycle, I moved to Washington County. Well, I remember
And I
2
wasn't
years
that
ago.
far
Yeah.
across the border.
Exactly, that I just changed it at the polls
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
election
Yeah.
day. And I know we talk about it, but it's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those things that it's like, oh, they don't hear it. And so.
So
yeah.
this would be a promulgation of a rule
It would
rather
need to be,
than,
it would need to be a law. But I think that that the law maybe could be written in such a way that it
Meets the
meets
Constitution.
the,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
okay,
this poor voters, loophole, that they get
Yeah.
caught in.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great one.
I'd like to see that go forward.
Yeah,
So,
I would say, I mean, I get it with all of these. My thought would be any of these that you want to talk to the SBC about and try to get going, do it.
yeah. And I know Kim in Benton County is working with several different legislators at sea about sponsoring a bill, and I can visit with Kim about this transfer. between
Sure,
counties.
sure, yeah.
The, and I don't know, like Robin or Steve Unger or
Right,
any of,
right.
any of our representatives might be interested.
They,
in thinking
yeah,
about it,
I think
so.
they would be.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
No, that's a good thought,
Get the more people supporting it.
yeah.
yeah. Well, that's good, yeah, I think that's a good thought.
Okay, anything else on that?
So that's all I have for those.
No,
So, yeah.
yeah, probably, yeah, Steve Unger, he could be a poll worker.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
right,
yeah.
absolutely,
Right.
yeah.
Or, yeah, Robin. of
Even
course, if
Robin.
you
Right.
wanna-
Yeah.
I mean, if we wanna get, if it's something we would actually wanna get passed. It's gotta be
Exactly.
somebody on
Yeah.
that side of the aisle, I'm happy to talk to folks on mine too, and I'm sure
Well-
they'd be happy to co-sponsor it,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna go anywhere if it's a Democrat, alone.
Well-
Anyway,
Things have
So-
changed, who knows?
yeah, no, I'm, like, I'm trying to think practically.
Do we need to, talk about I know that I may be the only one that this bothers, but the requirement to have 2 people.
Oh,
Very-
Oh, no, I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I
I
think
just
it,
think, I think
I'm with
the first rule for elected officials, we are to a degree, is do no harm.
Yeah.
I think that would harm and
sure, yeah.
I agree.
I mean,
I'm
it's a-
glad you
it's a
remembered that.
burden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you. I wonder if we could get feedback from the state representatives on, because that was in that whole legislative
Right,
packet.
right,
yeah, I know.
And see what they,
I don't have, in no way, shape or form do I blame them
mm,
for doing it because it was part of a knee jerk reaction
Yeah,
to all
right.
the, pressure that was being put on the whole election system from 2020.
Yeah.
And, that's fine, but,
but it
when
doesn't
you do
hurt,
that, but when you do that, sometimes you go just a little bit too
right,
far.
right, and they
That
did.
Makes no sense.
Mhm.
And now, after a couple cycles, we can say,
Mhm.
hey, this was too much enthusiasm, how about that?
Well, if somebody wants to explain,
Yeah,
how it helps, I'm ready to listen. Surely they're ready to listen
yes,
about how it doesn't
yes,
help.
exactly,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a good thought. Sure, people voted for it. That's all fine, but now we see how it's
right,
Yeah.
right,
playing
Effect.
out practically, the effect
Yeah.
of it, and we've
Yeah.
gotta have more poll workers stay late, who've already had a super long day, driving in, just to follow the other person, or
Yeah.
are they all in the same car?
no, it's a mixed bag.
It's a mix.
It's, some are following the other car.
And if they're in a different car,
yeah, what's the
I know.
point there?
that throws the whole idea of chain of custody out the window.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Chain of custody is taken
Sure.
care of by our system of, people putting, tags on.
Right.
Accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are we talking about?
The
Tags?
seals.
Seals, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
accurate.
and everybody signs off on that, all the
Yeah.
paperwork follows it, you know,
Yeah.
and whoever opens it signs off on it, signs off that it.
Every
everything's there.
level.
And
Accurate.
it's like, that satisfies,
I'm with you.
Mr. Legal Man, that satisfies the legal requirements.
No, I agree with you. I agree totally.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're looking at, I agree. I'm on board with changing that for sure. Yeah.
Um,
You're
if-
talking about it and, yeah.
there's two others that came out of that. One is also, if we're gonna revisit, one is the requirement that we have the voter statements for absentees to Becky's office by
yeah.
8:30 the day after the election. Well, we're in the middle of
Mhm.
50 other things we're trying to
Right.
do, so why do they need to be in Becky's office to be available for someone to come and look at? At
Oh, is that the-
8:30 on the day after the election?
That's the
8:30
point of that.
Early.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
probably a random.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There'd
yeah.
be that one, and then the other one would be, at least for me, that causes us grief.
Yeah.
Along with this is, the provisional ballot list that they want 8:30.
Oh,
You know, it's like,
Wow.
it's hard enough for us to
8:30 the
get,
next morning.
yeah, they want that list done, or by that day, it's,
There's no way.
You
You're
shouldn't
late
have a
on ballots, you
problem
know.
staying up all night,
Yeah.
right?
What's the matter with you?
I know.
and
Good grief.
And it's hard too on that list because it wants the supervisor name and their date of birth.
Wow.
And right now I can pull a list out of the poll book that has everything but those two things.
Oh,
And if we could remove those two things, then everybody could just submit your,
Yeah.
the clerk has
Right,
access to
right.
it because the clerk has access to connect.
yeah, that's.
And they can go in. So if we remove that date of birth and supervisor, then
It's done, you don't have to do
it's
anything.
done. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
Access
that
to it.
makes, I mean, that makes huge sense. And I don't see what including those two items actually accomplishes.
No, I think it was just kind of, trying to make, like the chain of custody,
Yeah.
you know, it falls all into that.
Well, I mean, been admitted to me that the chain of custody thing was done
Irrelevant.
to all 75 counties.
Yeah.
Because one person in one county messed up,
Yeah,
you know?
it's typical of legislation. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's like when all the brothers and sisters in a family get punished because. of one.
Yeah, that's funny.
One
Good
infraction.
analogy.
Yeah.
So those three items.
Yeah.
Could you add that to, I mean, I've got this list,
Mhm.
could you reduce that to some language to explain it and add that to what you send us
I will.
so that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally worthwhile. I mean, yeah, do it. I
Yeah.
agree.
So I can put out, like, when I
Great.
send out the email with what's been filed, kind of like, hey, here's some things for us to think about.
Yes.
And kind of flesh that out a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Some
that'd be
Sounds
talk-
good.
Some talking points
And,
for it.
and since you're sending that, far and wide, that may spur some thought on other commissions and other coordinators about, the necessity for it to give their amen to it.
Right.
And maybe bring to mind some other things that they've been frustrated about.
Yeah.
Well, I
Super.
think we, Washington County Election Commission, leads quite a bit. And, hopefully we are listened to.
Yeah.
And so, I think we ought to take advantage of that and use it to clean up a few little things like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Get the SBDC on board with as much of this as you can. Yeah,
Yeah, my favorite group.
and then if they won't do it, you know, we can talk about what to do from there.
Right,
Yeah.
because they won't, some things they'll look at and some things they
Right,
try and stay away from. They feel that it's not a policy
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah, so. Okay.
Well, we'll do more on this, as we see the session coming closer.
Okay.
When do they,
The 13th, I believe,
okay,
is their,
so,
I believe,
Begin their
yeah, the 13th is when
Okay.
they start. So,
it would be great if we had some stuff before then, but, I'm not gonna be optimistic about that. We'll see.
You gotta get moved.
Yeah,
Didn't find all that stuff again.
I know.
yeah.
I told them not to touch the little area, so we'll see what it looks like when I get back.
Oh, my goodness. All right, billing for elections.
So, we, are still waiting on reimbursement from the primary. The state has just been working their way through. So if
Huh.
anyone, if that ever gets brought up to you, it has been turned in. The state
Wow,
is still
That's a
working
long
on
time.
it. So, yeah.
Are they
so-
working alphabetically?
I know, and we're like,
I'm
I
gonna
think
try to get it done before the general. you
Yeah,
know?
that's kind of crazy. isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, but if you were to be asked, because normally we do have it before the
Right.
general.
Oh,
And,
yeah, okay.
and so it goes back into the general fund.
Yep.
But the state has not processed our part, and there's quite a few other counties that they haven't. So just FYI on that. And then for the general election, what I have.
So basically what you're saying on that is that if somebody asks about, why our, budget looks bad, that's really the answer.
Yeah, we have
We
not
haven't
got
received
reimbursed.
the reimbursement.
No, we have not. When I do find my desk again, I have billing ready for the city. I just need to go back through and just, pull up and make sure I've got all my receipts accounted for. But the total cost that we can bill out for the general election was $384,000.
Okay.
And then the county pays half of that. So half of that automatically the county pays. And then the cities pay based on percentage of votes cast. We had 97,917 total votes cast. 20,448 of those are in the county only. And then the rest, 77,529 are in the cities. And so the cities, I didn't,
So,
but that's the city's portion that they'll pay.
The ones in the county just absorbs that?
The county pays for half of the election.
Right.
And so this is your total cost, and then I take half of that.
Okay.
And then based on the
Divide it.
voter turnout in each of the cities, they pay their percentage
Okay.
of that remaining cost.
Okay, but the 20,000 that are only in the county, that just is absorbed by
That's,
the
yeah, by
county.
the county, because that's
Okay.
the cost the county
Okay.
pays. Yeah,
Interesting.
so. And I looked back because I was like, man, especially when you look at what Fayetteville's gonna pay,
Oh,
that's a large number. And so I went back to 2020 to see what we charged in 2020. And my total billing for 2020 is almost exactly the same as this.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't charge the cities as much because we've gotten grants. So 250%,
Yeah.
$250,000
Yeah.
or something along
Right.
those lines was grant money.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really bill the cities for grant money. And
Yeah.
so their bill that they actually had was far less than had we not had the
I
grant.
remember that.
So you're gonna
So,
have to explain
If
that.
I need to, I
Yeah.
will, but I wanted to make sure, like,
Yeah.
when I send this out, that, if they come back and say, well, in 2020, I only paid
Yeah.
this. But I looked back, my letter that I submitted to all of the cities in 2020 had that explanation
Oh,
in it.
good. Okay.
So if they kept that letter, they would see it, but if they don't, I've got why it is that we did it.
Good.
Why it was so much less, so.
And as I understand it, and my memory may be faulty here, the state prevented us this time, there was legislation or something that was adopted that said no more of that.
Was it
Is
at
that-
the state level or the county level?
No, the
Or was it
state level.
No, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah,
So we
can't
can't
do that
accept
anymore.
grants
No.
So, but we did that point, at that
Right.
point.
Yeah,
Sure, that
And,
was
uh,
great. I mean, saved.
The
city,
county.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
It was it Zuckerberg?
it was
Either-
Zuckerberg.
I was
The
thinking it was
Zuckerberg.
either Meta or Microsoft.
Yeah,
It was
something
like
like
one of
that.
those.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Meta.
And we used it for poll worker costs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
basically
sure.
it paid for our poll workers.
Right.
But if, once I send this out, I needed to be able to, cause I was like, this is a big check.
So how did how does this compare to prior to that election?
So, it's still higher, so,
Well, it always going to go higher.
and part of the reason it gets higher is we pay our poll workers so much more. I mean, our poll workers went from being paid like $7.30 an hour to $11.30 an hour to $14 an hour. And that cost alone adds up. We had more offsite early voting, so that adds to
Right.
it. So when I looked in 2022, this number obviously is higher, but it's a presidential year.
Right.
And so, I kind of just wanted to see, you know, back in 2020 was when we really adjusted the poll worker pay.
Yeah,
And so that makes a significant difference. And then, of course, for 2024, we adjusted poll worker pay again. And that in my mind is where the big difference is. Okay, so-
Well,
got it.
you know, those are factors that we need to remember and remind people of, because that was a significant grant.
Mhm.
It was, but I didn't
Definitely.
want, I know they're gonna get sticker shock when they get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wanted.
Well,
to
for
be able-
sure, because they probably don't remember the letter. And even if
Exactly.
they were looking at, oh, how much did we spend,
Mhm.
you know, in 2020?
Mhm.
They might not even be looking at the place where the letter would have been stored. It might just be
Right.
It'll be.
you know, the
Yeah.
paid, you know, accounting
Yeah,
well,
system anyway. Thank you for the heads up.
yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's good to remember.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just have to suck it up this time. We didn't have a grant.
Yeah.
We will
Yeah.
not have any grants
Yeah,
unless the
No more grants.
legislation changes.
And I understand that,
Yeah,
uh,
okay.
people might think something
I know,
is amiss.
I know. Well, it was in certain places, as I understand it, so. That's why they went ahead and,
you can have that if you want it, Max.
no, yeah, I was just in
Yeah,
case it is possible that somebody else.
yeah.
okay, other business. Anything?
You all sign these and I'll get
Sign
these
them?
done.
Can we
Don't lose
do
them.
these?
Yeah,
Yeah, what should I put on my calendar?
so in January, we will need to meet
Before the end of the
Before
month.
before the end of the month for an organizational
Okay.
meeting. And you'll take an oath. I'll
Right.
coordinate with Becky. I don't think Becky will have a problem coming down here,
Okay,
but just in case, we might be in room 115, because Becky will have to come and do the oath, but
is
I'll.
115 available?
Yeah, it is.
It
We
is?
use 115 to canvass absentee ballots.
Oh.
So if we needed to, we might meet there in January, because I don't know what that might look like
Right,
over there.
Right,
And if Becky's doing her oath,
you may be having construction.
yeah, it may just be
Yeah.
easier to meet there.
That's fine.
And I'll I'll coordinate with you guys, so it'll be
When's your
after January 21st.
Which one now?
In, your committee
After-
meeting.
I don't know, really good question. I need to figure that out. I have no idea.
Ours-
Okay.
Ours is the
21st,
third,
yeah.
Yeah, mine is on a
third
Monday,
Tuesday.
Monday, so okay, third Tuesday. It's gotta be before.
Okay,
Alright.
okay.
So I'll just coordinate with you guys about a date and time for that, but it'll be after the 21st then.
Okay,
March or February the 24th to March 3rd, that's when filing starts for the
Mhm.
school election. So that doesn't necessarily mean a meeting for us, but just FYI.
yeah,
March 6th will be the ballot draw. Also, we'll need to discuss, polling locations.
Mm.
Because depending on what kind of elections we have, There's an at-large seat for Fayetteville and an at-large seat for Springdale. So we'll need to discuss polling places
Okay.
if they have contested races. If they
Okay.
don't, then that makes it
Right.
a little bit simpler. March 13th would be the ballot approval.
When do you think the ballot draw will be? What time?
Oh, we can set that time. We can, whatever
9 a.m.?
time.
9 a.m.?
Is that
Yeah.
typically what we do? Try to
Yeah.
get them in and out?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in my calendar.
And depending on what our building looks like, we may just do the ballot draw, because a lot of
Yeah,
times when we
sure.
do the ballot draw, we do it. up here.
Right, that's true.
But,
Yeah.
so we'll.
Well, and what we need to do, I'm sorry to interrupt with this, but we need to make sure there's signage over
Yeah,
there that
that's
says,
right.
hey, this, the thing out here is it all says Washington County Road Department
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
We're not even listed.
Yeah, they're gonna, I don't know if you, when you leave today, if you notice the big sign for the sign shop.
From the-
Yeah,
Oh,
they're gonna make
okay.
me one like
Okay,
that.
good,
It's
good.
it's in process.
Well, I've talked to them about, they make those, they have a sign shop.
Gotcha.
And
Oh,
so the
you don't
county,
have to buy
that,
one.
that was the sign shop.
yeah, that was the sign shop.
You're like, no.
They take that one down and repaint it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the
Good
nice thing
point.
is that building has its own address.
Yes,
Oh,
So
cool.
whenever someone Googles it, right now, if you Google this address, it takes you to the back of the building.
Yeah.
So now if you
Yeah.
Google it, it's gonna take you straight
Good.
to that. building.
tell us
Did
what
you
the,
check
the new address is gonna be.
Mhm. I will. in
Oh.
an email.
Okay.
No.
Now you're moving.
Yeah, I guess we need to show you a
Yeah.
little mercy here, huh?
Oh, yeah. So, and then the ballot approval would be the next week on March 13th at 9, if that works.
Yeah.
For the commission, okay. April 22nd, that would be our public test, and that's not a commission meeting,
Right.
but April 23rd would be a commission meeting. And we can do that at 9. And then early vote starts May 6th. Election day is May 13th, and we will be counting in our new building, so that will be nice.
Cool.
May 15th would be the provisional ballot review at 9.
May 15th.
Yeah, and then the 23rd would be certification, and that typically is at 1. So, but I just thought I'd go ahead and lay out the calendar.
Yeah,
So if you guys needed to put those dates in.
Yeah, thank you. Oil.
I will also, if we see that we're gonna have a runoff election after filing ends, I'll get those
Okay.
dates figured out as well.
Are you guys both gonna be on the commission again, as far as you know?
as far as we know.
As far as we know,
He's
I assume you are.
tendency to-
Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah, I think I will be. Yeah, I think I am.
All right,
I
well, it would be
appreciate
nice.
everybody being.
Yeah, it would be
Yes.
great to have,
that's good to know.
continuation here.
Yeah.
Continuity is always a good thing, even though you're not getting continuity on your office.
That's okay, I can, if that's, this continuity would be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, unless there's other business, we're adjourned. Merry Christmas
Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
and Happy New Year, because we will not be coming to this place until after the new year.
Yeah, I guess if after the new year,